I'm not worried about them, dude. Foreign adversaries. I'm worried about the CIA because President Trump unsubstantiated allegations of widespread fraud, and they're doing it to change the electorate by their own admission.
A lot of voters could be impacted by this ruling.
You see what they're doing, man. They're trying to rig the elections via demographics. They're already telling us this stuff is going to be hacked. The 2024 election right around the corner, and apparently all of our voting machines are broken, vulnerable to hackers. Politico's reporting this, saying that the nation's best hackers found vulnerabilities, and we've got no time to fix them, which is one of the weirdest things in the world because they told us that 2020 was the most safe and secure election of all time. There was no widespread election fraud. Actually, remember how that went? It went from there's no fraud at all. Then there's no widespread fraud. Then they're like, okay, well, actually there is fraud. So let's say there's no widespread fraud. It's okay. Well, there is kind of widespread fraud, but okay, it's not widespread fraud that changed the outcome of the election. They're like, okay, good. Finally, they just tacked it all onto one another. And finally they settled on that. There's no evidence of widespread. And then after they're like, once we're all like, well, yeah, that all would have changed the election. Clearly, then they went out and they said, well, no court of law found that there was evidence. Like, okay. So you just keep changing the definitions. It's really funny how that gets watered down. Then lo and behold, we fast forward and now vulnerabilities in all the tubes. Organizers and participants at the DEF CON voting village found cyber vulnerabilities in everything from voting machines to e-poll books, but there's no time before November to fix anything. Man, that's a bummer. So I wonder how this is going to go. Some of the best hackers in the world were in Vegas over the weekend. Problem, their findings are going to come too late. In one sense, in the normal course of events, every August, hackers come to DEF CON. They try to find security gaps in voting equipment. Every year, there's a process of fixing them. But election day security is under particular scrutiny this year. That's both because of increasing worries and that foreign adversaries will figure out how to breach the machines. I'm not worried about them, dude. Foreign adversaries. I'm worried about the CIA because President Trump unsubstantiated allegations of, there you go, of widespread fraud. See, I just literally, we just said that. Unsubstantiated, like in the court of law, right? See how they had to do that? We know what happened. As a result, many of the election security community are bemoaning the fact that no system has been developed to roll out these fixes faster. And this has been going on for years, okay? We read the opinion from Judge Amy Totenberg in Georgia back that started, I think it was in 2018, if I recall, where she was chronicling all of the mistakes, all of the problems. And it's not just problems with the machine, it's problems with implementation. Like the machine might be fine, but if you leave the security codes on a sticky note and put it on the monitor, that's a problem. Now, as far as time goes, it's hard to make any real major changes. We're 90 days out from the election. It's great. So from Friday to Sunday, they all clustered around tables, trying to figure out the shapes and sizes. Unlike most others, though, other conferences, there's some focus on voting machines, saying that there are pretty big problems. Just like every year, they found problems. Organizers of the village intend to put out a full report on this, but there are multiple pages of problems. Those discoveries come among foreign and criminal targeting of U.S. elections. Yeah, Russia, 2016, give me a break. It's affecting this election cycle already. Trump apparently had his servers hacked, and they're saying it's all, foreign countries, which we're not so sure about that. If I had to guess, I'd say it's the CIA. Why? Because they already tried to rig 2020. They did rig it by colluding with Anthony Blinken to create that fake letter that Joe Biden could use. All, CIA people who worked for the CIA, they were employed as contractors, who got paid by the CIA, and who actually did their work at the CIA facilities. That's all documented now. So yeah, the CIA was involved in that and they rigged 2020. So why wouldn't they do it also here? Now, it's also something that's happening systemically. This is an interesting article from the Times saying that they're actually changing the demographics of the country in order to change the outcomes of the elections. They're admitting it. Immigrants are becoming U.S. citizens at the fastest clip in years. Why is that? Well, because they have a strong incentive to get this done. You see, here is what the story tells us. At ceremonies and in courthouses everywhere, thousands of immigrants are becoming new Americans every week and becoming eligible to vote in the election this fall. Unclear how many of the new voters live in battleground states, but they're just racing them in here. But a number of states where Kamala or Trump must wins have growing numbers of voting age naturalized citizens, right? They're dumping them Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Now in Savannah, Georgia, people from 19 countries streamed into a federal courthouse to take the oath of allegiance. My case was done in less than 6 months, she says. They got it real fast. Where'd she come from? Honduras. Generally, lawful permanent residents, known as green card card holders are eligible to become naturalized citizens if they've had that status for at least 5 years. Green card holders may have many of the same rights as citizens, but voting is only for citizens and people who claim to be citizens, because no one checks. And that can be a powerful motivation to pursue citizenship. Yes, especially when big elections are on the horizon. I'm so glad the process moved quickly for me, says Miss Brown, who is one of the 31 immigrants. People like me want to vote. After the ceremony, Miss Brown celebrated with cake and punch from a local women's group, and she was, completing a voter registration form provided by a representative of the League of Women Voters. I wonder how she's going to vote. I wonder who she's going to vote for. Naturalization applications typically spike up in the upward approach during election. The surge, this is a quote from Zhao Wang, chief executive of Boundless, a company that uses government data to analyze immigration trends and that offers services to immigrants who seek professional help. So this guy has a company that benefits from wide open borders and loose immigration policies. And there's a whole there's a whole infrastructure set up around immigration, obviously. When the government, sort of pseudo endorses something, everybody wraps themselves around it. Like there's immigration law firms, immigration application services, right? Liaisons. It's a whole industry now. So the surge, says from this guy who gets a benefit from this, he says the surge in naturalization efficiency isn't just about clearing backlogs, right? They're not just processing people quickly. He says it's potentially reshaping the electorate merely months before a pivotal election. See that? It's a fast track for Democrat immigrants. Chief executive said, every citizenship application could be a vote that decides Senate seats or even the presidency, says Mr. Wang. And he's facilitating that, right? Helping people, I guess, figure it out. At under 5 months, application processing speed is now on par with 2013 and 2014. Just stamp it. Boom, boom, boom. Come on in here. Here, vote Democrat. About 3.3 million immigrants have become citizens during President Biden's time in office, with less than 2 months to go before the close of the fiscal year. Crazy. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service took 4.9 months on average to process naturalization applications in the first 9 months, compared to 11.5 months in 2021. Okay, so it's over half as fast. They've cut the processing time in half to change the electorate. After taking office in 2021, Mr. Biden issued an executive order that sought to dial back Trump's immigration policies, and the Biden administration began deploying new technology. I'm sure it'd be interesting to have a nice study on what countries are being prioritized, what demographics are being prioritized, what prospective votes these people will make, who's being accelerated. Now, intent on curbing illegal immigration, the processing time roughly doubled to about 10 months during Trump's tenure. Now, the bottleneck prevented some 300,000 prospective citizens from naturalizing. In the vote, right, it's about the numbers, man. It is a crime for non-citizens, including legal permanent residents, to attempt to vote in federal elections. That's what they say. Well, no one's going to vote. Has anybody been prosecuted for that? Are you actually, okay, but does anybody actually prosecute anybody for that? Some Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, have spread narratives about undocumented immigrants being encouraged to vote. They're allowed to vote. They're allowed to get ballots, and it's like an honor system that they're not going to cast the ballot and vote. Some 9 million green card holders are currently eligible to become citizens, and according to the latest official data, naturalized Latinos make up the largest share of the citizens, have historically leaned Democratic, obviously. So it's not just the illegal immigration. They also want to just say, no, they're legal immigrants too, and we're just fast tracking everybody to come in. Citizenship confers benefits and legal protections. Citizens cannot be deported, and so they're doing it to change the electorate by their own admission. They've got the right to vote. Nonpartisan groups operates hotlines, all so that they can continue to seize power. Wild. The American electorate is as diverse as it's ever been, and newly naturalized citizen voters are going to be coming in and voting. All right, interesting times indeed. And the Arizona voter registration law that we talked about, that's now knocking on the door of the Supreme Court. We have a summary of what's happening there, courtesy of Fox News and our friend Carly Bonney.
Proof of citizenship to vote in the November presidential election. William Lajeunesse watching this. Could be a big deal. We'll see how it goes. William, good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning, Bill. This is a big deal, not just because Arizona is a swing state in this election, but because this ruling could affect other states considering proof of citizenship to vote, even a congressional bill that's under consideration. So here is the issue. Republican lawmakers are trying to convince the U.S. Supreme Court. In this case, Justice Elena Kagan is hearing this emergency appeal that every voter must show proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Democrats and some Latino groups say no, the law represses minority voters.
House Bill 2492 adds additional requirements, which makes it even more difficult for a particular type of voter to show that they are able to register.
What voter? A non-citizen.
So how did we get here? Well, Arizona already requires this kind of proof in state and local races. 2 years ago, the state attempted to expand that to federal elections. They got shot down by the Ninth Circuit. So GOP lawmakers are now appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court.
The law is pretty straightforward, that you provide proof of citizenship. You need it to get a driver's license, that you should provide that when you register to vote. And if you do not, that the registration form should be rejected until that proof of citizenship is provided.
Yep, no ballot.
So why is this important? Biden beat Trump 4 years ago by 10,000 votes.
Yeah,
right now, there are roughly 25,000 voters who could be taken off the rolls if Kagan or the full court decides proof of citizenship, usually a birth certificate, social security card, or passport, is required to register.
So the reality is here, a lot of voters could be impacted by this ruling.
A lot of voters
Arizona is
who haven't provided proof of citizenship. You've got to be a citizen to vote. Yeah, I don't think she's going to accept it, obviously. So you see what they're doing, man. They're trying to rig the elections via demographics. They're already telling us this stuff is going to be hacked. And Trump's office was burglarized. Trump campaign officials say that in Virginia, somebody broke in. Here's some backstory on it. Authorities are now looking for a man. This guy, who is this guy? Says in connection to a burglary. Sheriff's deputies, is that Hunter Biden's friend? Sheriff's deputies said that they were alerted to the break-in 9 p.m., but the suspect was gone. Surveillance video provided by officials shows the suspect, an adult male, wearing dark clothing, a dark cap, and a backpack. It's the CIA again. Is that Hunter's friend? Who is it? The investigation is ongoing. The sheriff's office did not indicate anything was taken or left at the scene. It's rare to have the office of any political campaign broken into. We're determined to identify the suspect, identify why it happened, and determine what may have been taken as well as what may have been left behind. It also serves as the headquarters of the 10th District Republican Committee. So very curious. Anybody know this fella? Someone needs to check the FBI. He looks like a CIA agent, doesn't he? All right, let's see if they find him. Now, the RNC is saying that they're gearing up to secure the elections. We sure hope so. RNC, they tell us, has 157,000 volunteers to watch this election. And I also know that Charlie Kirk has made an interesting post from Turning Point saying that they're looking for volunteers in Arizona and in Wisconsin. So if you're in Arizona and in Wisconsin and you want to get involved, sounds like there's a great way to do it. They have a program there that is encouraging people to go collect, I think, 100 ballots from other people. So a good program in place. So there is efforts afoot, which is good news. This tells us the RNC chairman stressed the need to ensure we've got clean elections. He explained part of the RNC's work is to underscore election integrity has included several lawsuits to help with identification, make sure people ID themselves, which would prevent illegal immigrants from voting. He also detailed how the RNC has vowed to recruit over 100,000 volunteers. I'm happy to say that we've already got 157,000 volunteers who've registered. Oh my gosh, that's a huge number. What's going to continue to push for the next 87 days to make sure we have the biggest, most robust national election integrity program in the history of the country. That's incredible. Whatley also praised Glenn Youngkin for his executive order, which was outstanding. We talked about that. So we have leaders right now. We need every state to follow them. RNC chairman also knocked Kamala for making a U-turn on multiple policies, and that's good news. And we're encouraging everybody to get actively active this election, more so than we've ever been active before. Encouraging everybody in your phone book and text chain to get active because this is the big one.